The grand chamber of the galactic hegemony buzzed with anticipation. 12 members of the High Council sat around a circular table made of gleaming black metal, their forms illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays floating above them. First Speaker Gray stood up, his tall frame casting a shadow across the table. "We have gathered today to discuss our next expansion target," he announced, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of conquest. "Our resource needs grow, and our people demand new worlds." The central display shifted, showing a beautiful blue-green planet spinning slowly in space. "Earth. This world," Second Speaker Stone said, tapping her fingers on the table, "has everything we need. Water, minerals, and a primitive species that has barely reached their own moon." She smiled, showing teeth that gleamed like polished pearls. "They still burn fossil fuels for energy. They fight among themselves over invisible borders." Admiral Ross, standing in the shadows behind the council members, stepped forward. His uniform, decorated with medals from 100 successful conquests, caught the light. "My fleet stands ready. We can begin the operation within 3 planetary rotations." The council members nodded in approval, already imagining the riches this new world would bring. They had done this hundreds of times before. Find a world, crush any resistance, and add its resources to their ever-growing empire. "The humans," Third Speaker Black added, pulling up more images, "are divided into nearly 200 separate governing bodies. They possess nuclear weapons but have no unified planetary defense system. Their most advanced aircraft cannot even leave their atmosphere efficiently." The council members laughed. "It would be like taking candy from a child," as the humans themselves would say. But then the chamber doors burst open. A figure stood in the doorway, wrapped in robes of shifting silver. Elder White, representative of the Ancient Ones, a race so old they had witnessed the birth of stars. The council members fell silent. The Ancient Ones never interfered in hegemony matters. "You must not attack Earth," Elder White said, his voice trembling. Not with fear, but with something else. Something that made Admiral Ross's spine tingle. First Speaker Gray frowned. "This is most irregular, Elder. The decision has already been." "You don't understand," Elder White interrupted, breaking centuries of diplomatic protocol. He moved to the center of the chamber, his robes swirling around him like living mercury. "We tried to conquer Earth 10,000 years ago, when we were young and proud like you. We had weapons that could shatter planets, technology that could reshape reality itself." The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone knew the legends of the Ancient One's power. "And?" Second Speaker Stone asked, trying to keep the nervousness out of her voice. Elder White's eyes seemed to glow with remembered terror. "We failed. We failed so completely that we erased all records of our attempt. We hoped no one would ever be foolish enough to try again." Admiral Ross stepped forward. "With all due respect, Elder, that was 10,000 years ago. These humans are primitive. We have studied them. They spend more time watching entertainment on screens than preparing for war." Elder White turned to him, and for a moment, Ross saw something in those ancient eyes that made him want to run from the chamber. "That's what we thought too. We thought their divisions made them weak. We thought their technological inferiority made them helpless." He paused, looking at each council member in turn. "We were wrong. So terribly wrong." First Speaker Gray cleared his throat. "The council appreciates your concern, Elder, but the decision has been made. Admiral Ross, you have your orders. Prepare your fleet." Elder White's shoulders slumped. He moved toward the door, then stopped and turned back. "Remember my words when the darkness comes. Remember them when you learn why we call Earth the crucible of warriors." With that, he was gone, leaving behind only the fading shimmer of his robes and a chamber full of uneasy silence. Admiral Ross looked at his tactical display, already planning the invasion. But for the first time in his long career, he felt a flicker of doubt. They would soon learn if Elder White's warning was the raving of a coward or the wisdom of the ages. Elder White moved through the gleaming corridors of the hegemony's central station with purpose, his silver robes flowing behind him like liquid moonlight. He had to make them understand, had to make them see. He accessed his personal transport pod and sent an urgent message across the vast distances of space. Within moments, the pod's interior filled with holographic images of Earth's true history, records his people had kept hidden for millennia. Meanwhile, in the council chamber, Admiral Ross was reviewing invasion plans when the emergency alerts began blaring. First Speaker Gray looked up from his documents, annoyed by the interruption. "What is the meaning of this?" Gray demanded as Elder White re-entered the chamber, this time accompanied by 3 more ancients, each wearing robes of different shifting colors. "I invoke the right of historical testament," Elder White announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. The council members froze. This ancient law had not been used in living memory. The tallest ancient stepped forward, introducing himself as Elder Green. "We will show you what happened to our invasion force, what really happened on Earth." The chamber's lights dimmed, and a massive hologram filled the center of the room. The council members watched in stunned silence as images from the past played out before them. "We arrived with 10,000 ships," Elder White narrated, his voice heavy with memory. "Each vessel carried enough firepower to level a continent. We thought it would be over in days." The hologram showed massive ships, far more advanced than anything the hegemony possessed, descending toward Earth's atmosphere. "The humans had just discovered basic steam power," Elder Green continued. "Their weapons were primitive. Swords, spears, simple gunpowder weapons. We expected them to surrender at the mere sight of our fleet." Second Speaker Stone leaned forward, and they didn't. "No," Elder White replied softly. "They did something we had never seen before, something that should have been impossible." The hologram shifted, showing humans studying pieces of crashed scout ships. Within days, they had reverse-engineered parts of the technology. Within weeks, they had adapted it to their own purposes. "But that's impossible," Admiral Ross protested. "No species can adapt that quickly." "Humans can," said the third ancient, Elder Blue. "You see, Earth isn't just another planet. It's a crucible. Every major predator species in the galaxy left their mark there. Humans are the ultimate survivors, carrying bits of DNA from 100 warrior races." The hologram showed human soldiers wearing crude versions of ancient battle armor, wielding hybrid weapons that combined ancient technology with Earth ingenuity. "Within 3 months," Elder White continued, "they had turned our own weapons against us. They didn't just fight our troops, they improved our technology. Made it better, more efficient, more deadly." The council watched as scenes of battle played out. Human armies, vastly outnumbered but refusing to yield, used their environment in ways the ancients had never considered. They turned rain into acid, snow into burning ice, and the very air into a weapon. "We lost 7,000 ships in the first year," Elder Green said, "not to their weapons, but to innovations we had never imagined. They turned our own shield technology into a weapon that could tear ships apart from the inside." First Speaker Gray's face had lost all color. "Why didn't you simply destroy their planet?" Elder White laughed. "But there was no humor in it. We tried. We fired our planet-killer weapon at Earth." He paused, letting the tension build. "They caught the energy beam in orbit and reflected it back at our flagship." A hologram showed the massive ancient flagship disintegrating under its own weapon's power. "This is why we came," Elder Blue said. "Not just to warn you, but to beg you. If you attack Earth, you won't just lose your fleet. You'll give them a reason to leave their world, and they will come looking for you." Admiral Ross looked at his invasion plans, then back at the hologram showing the destroyed ancient fleet. For the first time in his military career, he felt real fear. "The choice is yours," Elder White said, preparing to leave. "But remember, humans don't just fight wars. They perfect them." The chamber fell into deep silence as the council members looked at each other, the weight of the decision suddenly feeling much heavier than before. Admiral Ross stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Starbreaker, watching Earth grow larger on the main view screen. Despite Elder White's warnings, the Council had voted to proceed with the invasion. After all, how dangerous could one primitive planet be? "Begin the demonstration," Ross ordered, his voice firm and confident. "Target their primitive communication satellites. Let's show them our power." The weapons officer nodded, inputting the commands. Green energy beams lanced out from the Starbreaker, destroying 3 communications satellites in quick succession. Ross smiled, expecting panic and chaos to spread across the planet below. Instead, silence. Complete, terrifying silence. "Sir," his communications officer called out, confusion evident in her voice. "We're detecting no panic signals. No emergency broadcasts. Nothing." Ross frowned. "That's impossible. Their entire communications network should be in chaos." Suddenly, red warning lights flooded the bridge. The tactical officer's hands flew across his console, multiple launches detected from Earth's surface. "But these readings can't be right." "Explain," Ross demanded, feeling the first stirrings of unease in his stomach. "The projectiles. They're made of our own shield technology." "But that's impossible. We haven't even landed yet." Before Ross could respond, the first wave hit. They weren't missiles or bombs. They were simple metal spheres, each roughly the size of a human fist. They passed straight through the hegemony's most advanced shields, as if they weren't there. "How?" Ross whispered, watching as the spheres attached themselves to his ship's hulls. Then the spheres activated. The effect was instantaneous. Each sphere began reproducing, using the metal of the ships themselves as raw material. Within minutes, entire sections of his fleet were being consumed, transformed into more spheres that launched themselves at other ships. "Pull back," Ross ordered. "Get us out of range." But it was too late. Throughout his fleet, ships were going dark, their systems shut down by the strange devices. The few vessels that managed to fire their weapons found their energy beams caught by invisible fields and redirected back at them. "Sir," his science officer shouted, "we're detecting energy signatures from Earth's surface. They're identical to our own power systems." Ross watched in horror as massive cannons emerged from Earth's oceans, their design a bizarre hybrid of human and hegemony technology. They hadn't even landed troops yet, and somehow the humans had already adapted their technology. "How did they prepare for us?" Ross demanded. "How did they know?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Every view screen in his fleet suddenly activated, showing the face of a human military commander. The human smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. "We've been preparing for you for 10,000 years, the human said calmly. "Did you think the ancients were the only ones who kept records? We remembered, we learned, we adapted, and we've been waiting." Ross watched helplessly as more spheres launched from Earth, as his mighty invasion fleet was systematically dismantled by technology that seemed to be both impossibly primitive and unimaginably advanced at the same time. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, voice shaking, "we've lost contact with 30% of the fleet. The spheres, they're not just disabling our ships. They're rebuilding them. The humans are taking our own vessels." Through the view screen, Ross watched as several of his disabled ships began to move again, their hulls now covered in a strange hybrid of human and hegemony technology. They turned their weapons on their former allies. "All ships, full retreat," Ross ordered, but the command came too late. The human commander's face appeared on the screen one last time. "We'll keep some of your ships as a reminder," he said. "The rest, we'll send back. Let your council see what happens when you threaten Earth." As the remnants of his fleet fled in disorder, Ross thought about Elder White's warning. The ancient hadn't been exaggerating. If anything, he had understated the danger. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a trap, A trap 10,000 years in the making, designed by the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy. Humans who never forgot, never stopped preparing, and never, ever forgave. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Hegemony Council was in chaos. Holographic displays showed the devastating defeat of their invasion fleet, while Admiral Ross stood before them, his uniform still bearing scorch marks from his narrow escape. Impossible. First Speaker Gray slammed his fist on the table. How could they have known? How could they have prepared? The central display showed footage from Earth, massive underground facilities emerging from beneath what they had thought were primitive cities, advanced weapon systems appearing from hidden bases in mountains and oceans, and most terrifying of all, humans calmly operating modified versions of hegemony technology. Look at this, Second Speaker Stone pointed to a new image. They're not just using our technology, they're improving it. These energy readings are 30% more efficient than our best systems. Admiral Ross stepped forward, his voice hoarse. There's more. The spheres they used against us. Our scientists analyzed the remains of one that failed to activate. It's built using technology that doesn't exist yet. Technology we've been developing in secret. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Are you suggesting, Third Speaker Black asked carefully, that they somehow knew our future developments? Before anyone could respond, Elder White appeared at the chamber entrance again. This time, he carried an ancient data crystal in his hands. No, he said, walking to the center of the room. They didn't predict your technology. They guided its development. He placed the crystal on the table, and a new hologram appeared. It showed human scientists examining crashed ancient ships from 10,000 years ago, but there was something odd about the images. Watch carefully, Elder White instructed. The council members leaned forward, and then they saw it. The humans weren't just studying the technology. They were leaving deliberate flaws in what they rebuilt, creating a technological path that would lead future civilizations to develop specific weaknesses. They've been playing a 10,000-year game, Elder White explained. Every piece of technology or civilization developed was subtly influenced by artifacts left behind on dozens of worlds. Artifacts the humans carefully engineered and planted. Admiral Ross felt sick. You mean our entire technological development was guided by humans? Elder White finished. They knew that eventually someone would try to invade Earth again. So they made sure that when that day came, the invaders would be using technology that humans had already mastered and improved upon thousands of years ago. The hologram shifted to show current images from Earth. Humans were rapidly deploying space defense systems that combined hegemony technology with innovations that seemed to defy physics itself. But how? Second Speaker Stone demanded. How could they maintain such preparation for so long? Civilizations rise and fall. Knowledge is lost. Elder White smiled sadly. Not on Earth. They built their entire civilization around one central purpose: survival. Every major human nation maintains vast underground archives. Every generation is taught the true history. Every child grows up knowing that one day they might need to fight off another invasion. New reports began flooding in. Human ships, hybrid vessels that combined stolen hegemony technology with their own innovations, were emerging from hidden bases throughout their solar system. They're not just defending. Admiral Ross realized with growing horror. They're preparing to counterattack. Elder White nodded. Now you understand. You didn't just fail to conquer Earth. You gave them an excuse to emerge from their voluntary isolation. They will come for the hegemony now, not for revenge, but because you've proven their ancient warnings correct. First Speaker Gray's face had lost all color. What can we do? There's only one thing you can do, Elder White replied. Surrender, immediately and unconditionally. Because if you don't, humanity will dismantle the hegemony piece by piece, using the very technologies they spent 10,000 years trick you into developing. The council chamber erupted into panicked discussion as more reports arrived. Human ships were already moving through space, their hybrid technology making them nearly invisible to hegemony sensors. The trap had been sprung, and they had walked right into it. Humanity wasn't just ready for war. They had been orchestrating this moment for 10,000 years. Inside the vast underground facility, beneath what was once thought to be a simple mountain range, a meeting unlike any other in galactic history was taking place. The Hegemony Council members sat on one side of a massive stone table, facing human leaders and Elder White's delegation. Commander Stone of Earth's United Defense Force stood before a holographic display showing an ancient star map. "Let me tell you about your own history," she said, her voice echoing in the cavernous chamber. "A history you never knew." The display zoomed in on a particular section of space, showing hundreds of worlds that had once teemed with life. Now they were emptied, dead zones that ships avoided. 200,000 years ago, Commander Stone continued, a race called the Seeders roamed the galaxy. They were scientists, experimenters, and they had a fascinating question. What makes the perfect warrior species? Elder White nodded slowly, realization dawning on his ancient features. "The dead worlds." "Testing grounds," Commander Stone confirmed. "The Seeders took genetic material from the most aggressive, most adaptable, most intelligent species they could find. They created thousands of experimental warrior races and set them against each other. A hologram showed battles between bizarre creatures, each more terrifying than the last. The Hegemony Council members watched in horrified fascination. But there was one world," Commander Stone said, zooming in on Earth, where they decided to try something different. Instead of creating a single warrior race, they combined all of their successful experiments into one species. First Speaker Gray's eyes widened. "Humans." "Yes." Commander Stone smiled. "We carry the genetic memory of 1,000 warrior races, the cunning of pack predators, the patience of ambush hunters, the aggression of hive defenders, the adaptability of survival specialists, all combined into one species." The display showed human DNA, highlighting sections that came from various ancient species. The complexity was staggering. But then something unexpected happened. Elder White added. The Seeders disappeared, leaving their greatest experiment unfinished. Commander Stone's expression turned grim. "They didn't disappear. We killed them." Silence fell over the chamber. "The Seeders made one crucial mistake," she continued. "They gave us not just the physical traits of warrior species, but their combined intelligence and wisdom. We recognized what had been done to us. We found their observation posts, their laboratories. And yes, we destroyed them." The hologram showed ancient battles, primitive humans overwhelming advanced Seeder technology through sheer determination and adaptability. "After that," Commander Stone said, "we made a choice. We could have used their technology to conquer the galaxy. Instead, we chose to wait, to watch, to prepare. We knew that eventually, someone would discover Earth and try to claim it. So we planned. The Ancient One's invasion," Admiral Ross began, "was exactly what we needed," Commander Stone finished. "It gave us access to their technology. We studied it, improved it, and then carefully leaked specific elements of it to developing civilizations, including yours." First Speaker Gray slumped in his chair. "All this time, we thought we were building an empire." "You were building exactly what we wanted you to build," Commander Stone said. "A testing ground for our defensive strategies, a source of technological innovation we could study and improve upon, and ultimately, a way to ensure peace." "Peace?" Third Speaker Black asked incredulously. "You've just destroyed half our fleet." Commander Stone's expression softened slightly. "We didn't destroy your ships. We disabled them, captured them. Because now you have a choice. Continue this war and face extinction, or join us in protecting the galaxy from the real threats, the things that even the Seeders feared." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just outsmarted them. They had been playing a game so long and complex that the hegemony had never even known they were pieces on the board. So, Commander Stone said, looking at each council member in turn, shall we discuss terms of alliance? Admiral Ross watched from the command center of his last remaining fortress station as reports flooded in from across hegemony space. The humans weren't just advancing. They were systematically dismantling everything the hegemony had built over centuries. Sir, his tactical officer called out, we've lost contact with the 7th Fleet. The humans didn't destroy them. They surrendered. On the main display, a new type of ship appeared. It was neither fully human nor hegemony design, but a perfect fusion of both. The vessel moved with impossible grace, its hull seeming to bend the very light around it. They're not even fighting anymore, Ross muttered, watching as more hegemony ships simply powered down their weapons at the sight of the human vessels. They're just giving up. A communication channel opened, and Commander Stone's face appeared on every screen in the station. Admiral Ross, she said, her voice carrying no hint of victory or pride, just calm certainty. You're the last holdout. Your council has already signed the peace treaty. Ross straightened his uniform. And if I refuse to surrender? In response, Commander Stone simply gestured, and the screen showed what was happening across hegemony space. But it wasn't scenes of destruction. Instead, it showed human ships helping repair damaged hegemony vessels, sharing advanced medical technology with conquered worlds, and teaching their former enemies how to improve their own technology. We're not here to destroy you, Commander Stone said. We're here to help you evolve. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. Ross's engineers reported in panic as systems throughout the fortress began upgrading themselves, somehow incorporating human technology without any physical contact. Impossible, Ross whispered. No, Commander Stone corrected. Inevitable. Your own machines recognize our technology as superior. They're choosing to evolve. Through the station's windows, Ross watched as his fortress transformed. Sections of the hull rippled and changed, becoming something new, something better. His own crew stared in wonder as their consoles upgraded themselves, interfaces becoming more intuitive, power systems growing more efficient. This is what we do, Commander Stone explained. We don't just conquer, we improve, we adapt, and we help others do the same. Ross looked at his tactical display, now showing capabilities he had never dreamed possible. All this time, you could have destroyed us at any moment. Yes, Commander Stone nodded, but destruction was never our goal. You see, Admiral, humanity learned something important in our long history of being experimented on, of fighting for survival. We learned that the strongest warrior isn't the one who destroys the most, but the one who can turn enemies into allies. Around the station, more human ships appeared, each one different, each one a unique combination of technologies from dozens of civilizations. They weren't surrounding the fortress to attack. They were there to protect it during its transformation. So I ask you again, Admiral Ross, Commander Stone said, will you join us? Will you help us prepare the galaxy for what's coming? What's coming? Ross asked, feeling a chill despite himself. Commander Stone's expression grew serious. The things that lurk between galaxies, the horrors that even the cedars fled from, the real reason we've spent 10,000 years preparing. Ross looked at his crew, saw the wonder in their eyes as they worked with their newly evolved systems. He saw the future being offered, not one of conquest and destruction, but of growth and protection. He made his decision. We surrender, he said, then corrected himself. No, we join you. Commander Stone smiled, and for the first time, Ross saw the weight of responsibility she carried. Welcome to the next stage of evolution, Admiral. We have much work to do. As his fortress completed its transformation, Ross understood finally what Elder White had tried to warn them about. Humans weren't just warriors. They were teachers, improvers, guardians, and now, the hegemony would learn to be the same. The retreat was over. The real battle, the one humanity had been preparing for all along, was about to begin. 1 year after the failed invasion of Earth, The great chamber of the Galactic Council looked very different. Gone were the imposing black metal seats and harsh lighting. The room now featured a blend of both human and hegemony architecture, with walls that responded to emotions and chairs that adapted to each species' unique biology. First Speaker Wells, the first human to hold the position, stood before the assembled representatives of 50 different species. Former Admiral Ross, now serving as Chief of Combined Defense Forces, sat at her right. "The transformation is complete," Wells announced, gesturing to a holographic display showing the reformed territories of what had once been the hegemony. All member worlds have received the basic technological upgrades. More importantly, they've all begun the education programs. The display shifted to show training centers across the galaxy where humans taught other species not just about technology, but about adaptation, innovation, and cooperation. Former enemies now worked side by side, each contributing their unique perspectives to solve problems that had once seemed impossible. But most crucial, Wells continued, is what our deep space sensors have detected. The room darkened as a new image appeared, a massive void between galaxies, and within it, movement. Something vast, something ancient, something hungry. This, Ross stood up, addressing the Council, is what humanity has been preparing for. The Great Devourers, the same entities that forced the Cedars to experiment with creating warrior races in the first place. Murmurs of concern filled the chamber. An representative from a former hegemony world raised her hand. "How long do we have?" "At their current speed," Wells replied, 50 years. "But we've been preparing for this moment for 10,000 years. Every ship we've upgraded, every world we've improved, every species we've helped evolve. It's all been leading to this." The display showed the combined fleet, vessels that incorporated the best aspects of 100 different civilizations' technologies, all guided by humanity's unique ability to adapt and improve. "The hegemony tried to conquer through force," Ross said, looking at his former enemies who were now his closest allies. "Humanity conquers through elevation. We don't subjugate. We improve. We don't destroy. We transform. And now we all face our greatest test together." Wells nodded to a group of human scientists who entered the chamber carrying what appeared to be a simple metal sphere, the same type that had disabled the hegemony fleet a year ago. "This device," she explained, "contains the combined knowledge of every species in our alliance. But it's not complete. It's not perfect. Because perfection isn't our goal, constant improvement is." She held up the sphere. "Each of you will receive one of these. Study it. Improve it. Add your own people's wisdom to it. Because when the Devourers come, we won't fight them as humans, or hegemony, or any single species. We'll fight them as life itself, in all its infinite variety and potential." The chamber erupted in applause. Former enemies embraced, sharing ideas and plans. The display showed more ships being upgraded, more worlds joining the alliance, more species learning to adapt and improve together. "They thought we were primitive," Ross said quietly to Wells as they watched the celebrations. "They never understood that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our technology or our adaptability." Wells smiled. "It was our ability to turn defeat into victory, enemies into allies, and fear into determination." Above them, the display showed the void between galaxies, where ancient horrors waited. But now, for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy wasn't fragmented and fighting itself. It was united, improving, adapting, becoming something new and wonderful. The Great Devourers were coming, but they would find not a collection of squabbling civilizations, but a galaxy transformed by humanity's greatest gift, the ability to learn, grow, and evolve together. The new galactic order wasn't built on conquest or submission. It was built on the simple truth humanity had learned through 10,000 years of preparation. The strongest warrior isn't the one who stands alone, but the one who helps others rise.